Good evening, students, dear participants. Today is 111th lecture of our online lecture series, and the topic is defense mechanisms. And we have expert Dr. Meenakshi Vishwal, Associate Professor, Department of Education, Vasanta College for Women, Varanasi. This is our college, BHU College, and Madam is very keen to contribute in the welfare of students. Now, I welcome Madam on this teacher educators web platform. As you are aware, ma'am, there are students who are would-be teachers, who are would-be teacher educators, and the topic is very relevant. And Madam will deliver this talk in English medium. I have requested her. So now I invite Madam, please start.
Thank you, Somuji. It's my pleasure to be here, and so much of heartfelt thank you and gratitude to Dr. Somu Singh to allow me to interact with the student and student teachers in this particular platform. At the outset, I'll give my salutation to Almighty, and we'll start with this defense mechanism. The first thing is, I'll just tell the philosophy of defense mechanism. We all know that we have come from immortality, and the nature of immortality is peacefulness. That is why we all want to be in a happy mood. We never want to be stressful. We never want to show our sorry face to anybody. That is why we try different ways to make us happy, to make ourselves happy. Here, one slide is there. Next slide, Sonuji. Always, whatever we sow, whatever we do, if we really analyze, we'll find that all these are defense mechanisms. In the next slide, you could see my constant joking is a defense mechanism. My excessive laughing is a defense mechanism. And sometimes I go to temple, continuously I go to temple, that is a defense mechanism. And in this particular time of pandemic, we continuously pray at home, that is also a defense mechanism. We start writing poem in this particular pandemic, that is also defense mechanism. We used to have traditional mode of teaching, conventional mode of teaching, and now we are using virtual mode of teaching, that is also a defense mechanism. So once we start analyzing each act of ours, we'll find that each act of ours is mostly the defense mechanism. This defense mechanism has come theory and a psychologist. He was Sigmund Freud. And this is not a very new concept. It has come from 1894. And in 1894, Sigmund Freud has written a paper titled The Neuropsychosis of Defense. From that day onwards, this defense mechanism came into existence. In psychoanalytic theory, a defense mechanism is an unconscious psychological mechanism that reduces anxieties arising from unacceptable or potentially harmful stimuli. See, we have different types of anxieties. We have different types of dilemmas. We have accept dilemma. We have avoidance dilemma. We have moral dilemma. We have so many varieties of dilemma. Of course, today we are not going to talk about dilemmas, but I am telling you that continuously and constantly this conflict is going on in our mind, because our mind, we have three things in our mind. One is id, second one is ego, and third one is superego. This id, ego, and superego, they play a great role of mind. And to balance this, we have that id. Id is at what? If id is more prominent, then a person, whatever he wants to do that. In a child, the id is more powerful and more prominent. Whatever the child wants, he wants it at that particular time. They don't see the realistic aptitude or the realistic situation. They don't see the moralistic situation. They just want means they want. That is their prerequisite. The children of small children, I am talking about the children below 5, because as soon as they reach 5 or 6, they become little bit mature and they think realistically. They cry, they ask for the thing. If it is not available, then somehow they manage. They take another thing and they manage. But the smaller kids, they ask for a toy, means they want that toy. Otherwise, they will not live. Similarly, the older people, very older people, they also have id, prominent id. Next one is the superego. Superego is very morality concerned. That means talk about the moral situation. We never think about our wish, our fancies, our desires. We never see. We see what is really ideally moral. In this pandemic, it is told that don't go out of the house. And if you go out, don't use mask. When I see some people, they go out, they remove their mask, then talk. But sometimes some people are there, they're so strict, even if they want very emergency, very necessary things also, they don't go out. That is, in that case, their superego is very prominent. In between this id and superego, we have one more thing, is ego. Because we are staying in Varanasi, I just remember Gautam Buddha's middle path. This ego makes a balance between id and superego. It creates a balance. It is not very emotional. It is not very moral. It creates a balance, realistic balance. It sees the situation and does the work. I just take one example of this particular pandemic situation. See, when pandemic came, people are stuck. Those who are working in different places, they are stuck. Very great and intense feeling comes, we'll leave everything and go to see our parents. At the same time, one thought that superego tells, no, it is morally not correct. Ego in between these, one intense feeling of living and going to home, and other one is no, you can't go. In between these, one ego plays a great role. Yes, it tells, don't worry, within another 2 or 3 months, vaccine will come. Everything will be all right. We'll go and see. Not now. So, in this defense mechanism, ego plays a great role, and it makes a balance between it and superego. We have, when we talk about defense mechanism, we have two types of defense mechanism. One is body defense mechanism and other one is ego defense mechanism. Today we'll discuss mostly on ego defense mechanism. The next thing is, here we'll see what is defense mechanism. Defense mechanism is a pattern of adjustment through which an individual relieves anxieties caused by an uncomfortable situation that threatens self-esteem. It is a pattern of adjustment. This defense mechanism is also called as adjustment mechanism. There are two types of mechanism, defense mechanism. Few of them are positive defense mechanism, negative defense mechanism. When these defense mechanism used moderately, it is harmless. But if we use it extensively, excessively, then it is really harmful. So in positive defense mechanism, we have 10 mechanisms, and in negative defense mechanism also we have 10 mechanisms. All total we have 20 defense mechanisms. So in positive defense mechanism, we have compensation, substitution, sublimation, rationalization, repression, undoing, identification, transference, intellectualization, introjection. These 10 is in positive defense mechanism. We'll discuss each one detail. Next one is negative defense mechanism. In negative defense mechanism also we have 10. Suppression, displacement, projection, regression, fixation, fantasy formation, reaction formation, conversion, dissociation, and denial. Now, we have positive defense mechanism. In that, the first one is compensation. I'll just give one example. Suppose in one example, two examples, but I'll just give you another example. Suppose at home I have two siblings. One who is doing well in academics and other one is doing well in athletics. What should I do? I have to make myself adjusted. So I have started painting. I am doing well in painting. If I am not able to do good academics, I am not able to do good athletics, I can compensate this in painting. So compensation is a pattern by which tension or anxiety is relieved by an individual makeup for personal weakness. Suppose I'm not looking good, so I'll start singing to compensate my this looking ugly or not looking good in the form of singing well. So in this, I am not harming anyone. I'm not harming myself, but I'm adjusting in the society. See, main thing is we have to make our self-concept high and we have to make our self-esteem also high. Substitution. Substitution, it is a mechanism by which tension or anxieties is reduced by replacing the unachievable goal with achievable goal. That means sometimes I am preparing for civil service exam. I'm not able to get it. So what should I do? I'll sit and cry or I'll get frustrated. I'll attempt for suicide. No. What I should do? I can prepare at the same time. I can give the bank officer's exam and become a bank probationary officer. Become a CEO in an office. Become a corporate chief. That means I have substituted my unachievable goal to an achievable goal. Mostly it happens that when someone prepares for engineering and does not get in IIT, so they substitute it by getting in NEET, NIT. So that is unachievable goal is achieved, is substituted through achievable goal. This is substitution. Next one is sublimation. We sublimate one unacceptable form, unacceptable desire in acceptable form. That means it is a channelization. Sometimes here I have in the PPT something else is written. I'm just telling you. Suppose a person who doesn't satisfy, I mean he is in love with somebody and the society doesn't accept that relationship because we have different types of social dogmas, then that person become a good writer, good actor, or a good sportsman, because that is accepted in the society. But that other one was not accepted, because I'm just giving the particular example, like suppose a child wants an intercaste marriage, but The society doesn't accept it. So instead of going for intercaste marriage, he starts writing novels. He become a good author. There are so many authors, they have this type of background. This is sublimation. That means this is the mechanism. Primitive impulses are transferred or directed to a socially useful goal. Socially useful goal. Next one is rationalization. At this particular juncture, I have two things to tell. One particular story I just want to mention. That is, here a fox going to eat the grapes. And the grape yard is little height. It is in high place. The fox jumps and could not get the grapes. By the end of the day, the fox tells, these grapes are sour. I don't want it. Because he could not get the grapes, he tells these grapes are sour. Another example, sometimes we go for something and we get something which is not as per our estimation, then we tell it, yes, it is nice than that. That is called sweet lemon. Even if we get lemon, we tell sweet. But if we don't get, we tell the grapes are sour. This is a defense mechanism in which an individual justifies his failures and socially unacceptable feelings and behavior by making excuses or formulate logical reasons or socially approved reasons. So when we get failure, we tell that yes, it is, we start justifying it. We start justifying it, the failure. That is rationalization. Because at the end of the day, we have to live ourselves. We can't continuously be in that state of anxiety or state of want to be happy. We always want to be blissful. In the beginning itself, I told you the nature of the Atma, the nature of the soul is to be blissful, to be happy. So that is why one particular saying is there, forget and forgive. Clear? So this rationalization is justifying the failure. Justifying the failure. The next one is repression. Repression is a process of unconscious forgetfulness of our unpleasant experiences. Suppose in the childhood, your parents have gone to a fair, and in that crowd, you got misplaced. Of course, after 1 or 2 hours, you got your parents got you. But that 1 or 2 hours, your parents were in trauma and you were also in trauma. That unpleasantness you don't want to remember. That is, you want to repress it. That is, you are unconsciously forgetting it. That repression is the involuntary blocking of unpleasant feeling and experiences from one's awareness. So these types of, we have many such type of incidents. we tell that nightmares. We unconsciously try to forget it. Next one is undoing. Undoing means we are symbolically cancelling or reversing out the previous act which is unacceptable. I'll just give one example here. In the classroom, suppose we get irritated with a particular child without any reason, the next day we go and pacify the child. At home it happens. Sometimes we get angry with our children, and next moment if we go to bazaar, we get a beautiful gift for them. That means we are undoing that. We are cancelling that unpleasantness with a pleasantful act. With a pleasantful act. That is called undoing. Next one is identification. Identification is, see, when a child go to hostel, because it happened with me many times, many a times. That is why I am just giving this example. When a child goes to hostel, he is very unfamiliar with anyone. How to do? He has left home, and where he has gone, there no one knows him. Slowly he starts talking to people and tells that I am the son of so and so. I am the nephew of so and so. My father's friend is so and so. Slowly we create a relationship by identifying with another person. That person is known to the group. So when we do this, we identify with a known person, with a famous person to be accepted in the society. That particular mechanism is called identification. Because I have seen in many cases when we go in train or in bus or in plane, whenever, when we sit behind besides us any fellow passenger, we start talking and slowly we tell, I am working in BHU, I am working in Basanta College. That means I am identifying myself with Basanta College. I am identifying with myself with BHU, because BHU is well known. Basanta College is well known. So when I identify myself with that, then people will recognize and then they start talking. This is another kind of defense mechanism. The eighth one is transference. Transference is the image of one person is unconsciously identified with that of another. Unconsciously. In identification, we do consciously identify, but in identification, in transference, we do unconscious. That means, suppose when I had a small child, I used to see each children and I used to ask their parents, how old is this child? And when they tell this child is 18 months, I used to feel by 18 months my child would be like this. By 2 years my child would be this much. This is transference. Means unconsciously we transfer the identity. Suppose we are in a bus station. We see someone running just. We feel that as if My friend is running. He's looking similar to my friend. We identify that particular person with a familiar person of mine. That is unconscious identification. It is called as transference. Suppose we like somebody, then we identify the transference. If we not like, then also we identify the transference. Suppose we like, then we, those who are very good to us, we tell, हाँ मेरे mother ऐसे behave करती थी, आप जैसे कर रहे हैं. यदि आप when you behave badly with me, then I tell my mother-in-law, you are behaving like a mother-in-law to me. Next one is intellectualization. Intellectualization is an attempt to avoid expressing associated with a stressful situation by using intellectual process of logic, reasoning and analysis. It is not justification. It is using logic, reasoning and analysis. That means you want to avoid the situation. Suppose your brother is not well at home. You are supposed to go, but you are not going, telling that I have so much work in the office and the office person is not, the manager is not allowing me to go. So what to do? Next thing is, and one more thing, in this pandemic time, suppose you are very much needed at home, but you are not going, telling that at home the network is very slow. I have to do my work from home. If network is not proper, then I can't do. If I don't do the work, the boss will remove me from the job. So this is intellectualization. Means you are logically, or you are giving a reasoning for your not going to there. Giving a proper reasoning. The 10th was is introjection. We read the life history of great men. We read scientists. Why do we read? Because we'll see that their values, their behavior, their activities, their attitudes, we see. We read. Why do we read that? We want to be like them. And slowly we try to inculcate those values in us. That is called introjection. In introjection, the values and characteristics of significant persons are incorporated in one's personality. Those who stay in Sevasram, Gandhigram, they try to incorporate the values of Gandhi. That is simple living and high thinking. Those who stay in Ramakrishna Paramahansa mission, they start with the principle service to mankind is service to God. This is introjection. So with this, we have completed 10 positive defense mechanism. That is compensation, substitution, sublimation, rationalization, repression, undoing, identification, transference, intellectualization, and introjection. So these techniques, these mechanics may positively adjusted in this society. These are all constructive mechanisms. Next 10 mechanisms are negative defense mechanism, that is suppression, displacement, projection, regression, fixation, fantasy formation, reaction formation, conversion, dissociation, and denial. So we'll start with the first mechanism, that is suppression. Suppression is the voluntary blocking of unpleasant feelings and experiences from one's awareness to avoid discomfort and anxiety. That means, suppose someone insulted me somewhere. I just don't want to show that. I just don't want to remember that. And I suppress it. But one more thing I'm just telling you. Excessive suppression will give bursting. That means we tell that magma bursting. When both the sides of the surface is compressed, then it tries to come out, and it comes out with a suppression, because that is why it is called negative defense mechanism. If you start suppressing your feeling continuously, then one fine day you will end up with total aggression. So this is a negative impact of suppression. Once in a blue moon, you can suppress. That is the unpleasant blocking. Next one is displacement. This is a mechanism wherein you displace your feeling. Like in central evaluation, the teachers, I just give one example from teachers' lifestyle. At home, if they have unpleasantness with their kids or with their family members, then they go for evaluation and they start taking out all the frustration in the copy. They give very less mark to the children, and that day the copies would get very less score. And suppose they go to school for class, regular class, that day the children will get 2-3 slaps or they get scolding. Of course, nowadays they can't slap, they can scold them. They will harass them. That is nothing but displacement. This is in this defense mechanism, an unconsciously emotional feeling is transferred to a person or an object who are less dangerous than those who initially aroused the emotion. And it is unconsciously done. It is not consciously done. Suppose a person gets scolding from his boss at office, he comes back home and without any reason starts throwing everything or starts shouting at the children, starts shouting at the family members. This is displacement, nothing but displacement. Then we are coming to projection. That means blaming for your failure, you blame the other person. You blame something else. Suppose while coming to college, as you know, in Varanasi, as usual, the crowd is so much. Traffic is so much. If you have to reach the college by 10 o'clock, you should start at 8:30, 8:45. Then you can reach by 10 o'clock. If you start at 9:45 and when you become late in the college, you tell there is a big traffic jam, I could not reach. This means you are not blaming yourself, you are putting the blame in somebody else. That is projection. Placing blame for own difficulties upon others. They never take their mistake as their own mistake. Always, suppose you ask a child, why didn't you get good mark in the exam? No, in the hostel they didn't give me time to study. The teachers did not teach well. The teachers were not good. The friends were not helping me to read. So this type of thing is projection. And normally, most of the people do this. Here, I just remember a quote from the mother Mira Alfonso that accepting one's own fault is like putting a hot iron rod in the wound. Means it is very difficult to accept one mistake. But we have seen the great men like Mahatma Gandhi openly confessed in the Experiment with Truth. That is not a book, that is open confession. All of us should go through that particular book, My Experiment with Truth. How openly he has accepted his faults. He has confessed everything. He didn't use projection there. But normally, I think 99% of people, they do projection. They never accept their own mistake for their failure. They project it on others. Next technique is regression. Regression means an immature way of responding to a stress or go backward. What they do? Regression means going backward. Sometimes you have seen we start behaving like a child. Like the child shows the temper tantrum, child starts crying. We start behaving like that. In this case, the adult, they go back to earlier developmental level in order to deal with this situation. When we get depressed, we start crying. Otherwise, we start hitting the wall. The adults, sometimes you have seen the adults sucking their thumbs, chewing their nails, cutting their nails. This is nothing but regression. Nothing but regression. Fifth one is fixation. You have seen the unmarried males, they get cling to their mother. But just after marriage, they start leaving their mother and go to wives. So this is the fixate. The fixation refers to the point in the individual in his or her development at which certain aspects of the emotional development do not advance. They grow by their age, but some part of the emotional development is not been done. That get fixed up. We tell that this is childlike behavior. The adult, like as per the age, the adult should behave like an adult. A child should behave as a child. If an adult behave like a child or child behave like an adult, is called as fixation. Next one is fantasy. Fantasy formation. When we were small, one serial used to come, TV serial, that is Mungeri Lal Ki Hasin Sapne. And this man used to continuously daydream, sleeping in a hollow barrel, not having a permanent house. He always daydream a palace. This particular thing happens in all adolescents' life. That is fantasy formation, a daydreaming. Fantasy is used to gratify frustrated desires by imaginary achievement and wishful thinking. At this particular juncture, I remember a story wherein a beggar is sleeping under a tree and seeing the dream that he becomes and he has his wife, means queen, and all the ministerial level sitting in a palace, having all nice dishes with him, very happy, and talking to himself. And in that dream, he gives a kick to a particular person, to a servant, and his dream breaks up, and he sees he is he's sleeping under the tree and gives a kick to the tree trunk. This is like water bubble. This daydreaming is. That is just imaginary. Means we tell that building castles in air. The tendency of daydreaming is the most common symptoms and characteristics of adolescence. In adolescence, we dream so much soon. I mean, the golden dreams, which never happens in anybody's life. Next one is reaction formation. Suppose a person is angry, tells, I am angry, and then starts scolding. In this defense mechanism, the unacceptable real feelings are repressed and acceptable opposite feelings are expressed. That is reaction formation. Means, suppose I am angry with my friend, I'll go and talk to her very nicely. Sometimes Hindi that मुझे मखमली जूता से मारे means you want to hurt somebody but with a very sweet words. It is defined as unconscious transformation of on acceptable impulse into exactly opposite attitude, impulse, feelings, or behavior. It normally happens with the educated ones. They hide their real feeling and show the opposite feeling to others. This is reaction formation. Eighth one is conversion. Conversion means suppose. It happens in many cases, in children's cases, that exam phobia is nothing but conversion. Means the mental stress comes out with physical symptoms. In this pattern of defense mechanism, strong emotional conflicts which are not expressed are converted into physical symptoms. It has two benefits for the person. It resolves the conflict. It brings him a great deal of, but this is a negative mechanism. Till when? The child in the beginning stage doesn't want to go to school. He complains about headache. He complains about stomachache. He complains about vomiting. So this is nothing but conversion. Then dissociation. Dissociation is involuntary suppression of a mental function from rest of personality in a manner that allows expression of forbidden unconscious impulse without having any sense of responsibility for action. Without having any sense of responsibility for action. Dissociation means I am getting dissociated. Withdrawal, withdrawing from that particular situation, not facing that particular situation. Denial, that is refuses to face the reality. It protects the individual from shock of reality. This is of course harmless, but it can lead to serious difficulties in health and lifestyle if practice excess. Denial. So with this, we have completed another that negative 10 mechanism, that is suppression, displacement, projection, regret, fantasy, reaction formation, conversion, dissociation, and denial. This is one type of classification we discussed. There is another classification, that is recent classification. This defense mechanism are classified into three. One is primitive, second one is less primitive, more mature, third one is mature. In this primitive defense mechanism, we have 7 defense mechanism, that is denial, regression, acting out, dissociation, compartmentalization, projection, and reaction formation. Here one new type of mechanism is seen, that is compartmentalization. This compartmentalization is nothing. I am just giving you one example. A very sincere and truthful man, showing to be truthful man, what he does, he cheats in the income tax returns by telling he is going to give this much of amount to a trust. I means they have compartmentalized. In this particular part, they will be sincere and truthful. In this particular part, they will be insincere, untruthful. It will manage. No, it doesn't get managed. So that compartmentalization means we behave, suppose two people, we show very nice behavior to one and we show very bad behavior or not nice behavior to other. That is compartmentalization. Means we should be equal. We should not be partial. Similar thing happens when we behave differently in the classroom with different children. So children then complain that the teacher is very partial. So we have to be impartial and behaving equally to others. Then we comes to less primitive and more mature defense mechanism. The most, there are 5. The first one is repression, second one is displacement, third one is intellectualization, fourth one is rationalization, and fifth one is undoing. This also we have discussed in this positive and negative defense mechanism. And the last one is mature mechanism. In this, we have sublimation, we have compensation, and we have assertiveness. Here one more new thing we have come across, that is assertiveness. I means we become more possessive. When we tell that yes, this is mine, I will not compromise with others. That type of feeling is called assertiveness. So with this, we have come to an end that the human brain remembers more negative memories than positive ones. This is in sets of as a defense mechanism. So, of course, we are trying defense mechanism alternatingly, but we should try the defense mechanism, positive defense mechanism, more than the negative defense mechanism. Of course, when we use the negative defense mechanism, we should use very rarely. As we know, our nature, inner nature is very peaceful, to be very peaceful, very satisfied, very happy, very blissful. So we should stop stressing and start living. So with this, we have completed the different mechanism of defense mechanism, different techniques of different mechanism. Thank you all for active listening, and at the end we can just tell Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu, Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. We should stop stressing and start living happily. Be happy and make others happy. Thank you. Thank you, Samuji.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for this very informative and insightful and useful lecture for our students. I am seeing the comments, they are enjoying. Really, this talk is very systematic in the manner you have made it very presentable in the form of PPT, ma'am. I appreciate your kind gesture that you always be ready to help our students. I am very grateful to you on behalf of my Facebook group, that is Teacher Educators. Students are learning from different experts from our different corners of our country. Ma'am, today we have completed 111th lecture. So we as a teacher educators, including you, are very happy that we
So
are su-
I am triple one.
you are you ma'am made it triple one. Yeah, this is a special number.
It's my
Uh,
pleasure.
uh, yes, yes, ma'am. Now I conclude this session with a request to all students. You have got benefited from this lecture and all other lectures. I request you to please share it in different your student groups so that all other students will also be benefited through our lectures. Thank you very much, you all. Once again, I congratulate all of you to be the part of this online lecture series. Thank you very much.